Good day, critters. My name is David. This is Mana and Maple, and I want to just talk about Campaign 4, Episode 1. There were some phenomenal things inside there, and what really struck me was how fresh and brand new that world is. In knowing how fresh and brand new that world was, I thought I was prepared for how much new lore and name dropping was going to happen, and I was not. There's a lot to go over in this episode. And I figure that there's plenty of people out there who are doing synopsis of the episode. I kind of want to get into my thoughts on the characters because I was guessing and really pushing for guesses on characters overall. And let's see who we ended up having with us today. We're introduced in a very linear fashion through a funeral. That funeral is for Thaze Fang. Thaze Fang? I've watched that video 3 times, and I still can't quite say that name correctly. Someone's going to correct me on it, and that's A-okay. We start off with Liam. Liam's playing Halandil Fang.
My name is Halandil Fang. Hal. I am a older, dark-haired with streaks of white, orc gentleman, dressed in fairly fine but not ostentatious clothing, and has smile lines at the eyes from a life well lived. Trying in this moment to hold on to the spirit that has buoyed him through his life. Maybe not doing as well as he'd like to in this moment.
I love Bard for Liam because Liam is such a theater-driven guy. I think that this will be a hard game for him overall because we're watching him process grief in real time. And that is going to be hard for a lot of people, but I love that Liam's doing it this way this time around. Shortly after that, we are introduced to Azune, and Azune is played, Azune Nayar is described like this.
Yes. Azune Nayar stands tall, proud. Human in appearance, he is just over 5'10", but gives the presence of someone that's taller than that. His pride carries him above his height. He is strong, lean, muscular. He has medium brown skin and coppery auburn brown hair that's tied back in a braid, a birthmark that goes up the right side of his neck, up his face, and up to his forehead around his eye. His eyes look like a sunset on an ocean. The bottom half of his irises are a deep blue. His pupils are yellow, like the sun that burst out into an orange, and then into a teal, and then into a light gray. He is wearing full armor, as is given to him by his station in Dolmakyar. He is a member of the Revolutionary Guard, an arcane marshal, specifically. And his arms are exposed. Along his right bicep are tattooed the words, "Have mercy on those I send you."
And I really thought that Luis was going to play a paladin. A lot of people said cleric because of that storm stuff. I really thought he was going to play a paladin, and I was half right. Paladin sorcerer, I think, is an interesting mix. And we're going to see how well he can use those abilities, but he's very magic focused right now. We're then introduced to Abria's character, who is Taisha Loy.
Taisha is she's tall for an orc, 6'4", sort of desaturated green skin, curly, long, dark hair. It's beginning to show the signs of graying, but her druidic connection means that the age of her is being lost in her face. She's already started slowing down, so she appears in her mid to late 30s. Her eyes, the scleras and pupils are black, but her irises are silver with like a ring of red, and on her hands, her fingers go red and black at the tip. She is Aloy, a family that means something in this city, and she wears those colors, blood and the soot and scale of smiths. And she swishes up the street in fine clothes.
I've known that Taisha was going to be a druid for a long, long time. Just like I knew that Hal was going to be a bard for a long, long time. And that's okay. I really love the way that Abria is playing this druid as a real connection to nature, and kind of highlighting the fact that even though she's level 3, she already is beginning to see her time slow down as years don't really stack up as aggressively for her as it would for everybody else. We learn that she was a significant other. She's at least the one of the parents of the kids that Hal calls kids. So she has, I think, 2, maybe 3. The third one was a little sketchy for me, the one that is training under Julian, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Traveling with her is Octus, Tacanus, who is a member of a noble house and is described as the umpteenth in line for the head of that household, marking him as one of the nobles inside the city.
See a small young man, about small in presence. He's about 5'11".
Tiny.
He is thin, with dark hair and light olive skin and bright green eyes, and wearing dark, noble clothing that is clean but worn, and with an array of implements around his belt and a book strapped to his leg. And he is glassy-eyed. He is just staring and not blinking. And with him is a small, white and other colors fox.
Shortly thereafter, we're introduced to Tior Pridesire. That's Travis's character.
Yeah, you see a very tall, very powerfully built lion man. Dark silver fur coming down from his head onto his shoulders. He has a golden breastplate and adornments that would match his station as a vanguard marshal. Purple vestments and a shield on his back as well, with a cape flowing behind him and his feet, of course, uncovered, as is custom for our kind. Powerful arms, a tattoo running up the upper left side of his arm, and you see braids coming down from his mane down onto his chest. And he is moving alongside this orcish woman, but also scanning while he does so. It's habit. It's part of what he does.
Travis is playing, yes, a paladin, but he leads this entire game with questions that he's asking, things he wants to know. He keeps an eye out for things. This is really why I was fairly certain he was going to be a seeker, because he's got so many questions that haven't been answered. And my thought is, if he spent his entire life fighting so far, maybe he's not going to be doing that so heavily now, and he'll be working towards seeking instead. Who knows? We also meet Wikander and Tyranny. Wikander is played by Sam Riegel, and Wick is described like this.
Well, sitting in the back of the carriage is a tall man, 5'11".
Wild.
Tallness is in the mind.
He's a very beautiful young man, maybe 28 or 30 years old. He has light teal and white hair with teal and white robes. I think the most distinguishing characteristic about him would be the pearlescent, shimmering face markings that he has, tattoos all over about half of his face. They seem to shimmer with the light that they make on their own. He is clutching very hard and sort of fingering nervously a cane that he carries with the symbol of the Candescent Creed on the top of it. And he's got a lot of sweat on his upper brow right now, sort of rocking back and forth.
Sam is playing another really nervous character. Got the feeling of like Tyrion Darrington again. Or the nervousness of Breas from Campaign 3. Just that kind of nervous energy speaks to someone who isn't quite sure of themselves, and I love that Sam is able to pull that off so well without it being annoying. We also meet Tyranny, who is a demon, by the way. Before we talk about Tyranny, can we talk about Sam's stats? So Sam's stats, he's labeled as a cleric in the character art, but if you look at his stats, he has a 10 in wisdom and an 18 in charisma. I don't think he's a cleric. Yes, he says he's a cleric, but I think that's like an indoctrination on the side of his house. And he had the ability to cast healing spells, and I'm gonna stick with Divine Soul Sorcerer. I'm just gonna stick there. Even though the card says cleric, he just doesn't have the stats for cleric, and I don't think that he would intentionally build a character that was just bad at what they were supposed to be doing. Anyway, on to Tyranny. Tyranny is described like this.
Yeah, okay. People tend to smell her before they see her.
Oh, shit.
Think of like a warm chocolate chip cookie laced with a little bit of sulfur. It's animalic, it's musky, a bit acrid, but with like a creamy sweetness that doesn't make it so unpleasant. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, and it sticks around. She's beautiful, of course. She's got bubblegum colored skin, white hair, blunt bangs that are sort of haphazardly tucked behind a veil, a bunch sticking out. She's got yellow goat's eyes, soft goat's ears, and she's got a silver arrow piercing through one of them, and of course, a forked tongue. Hooves, put her at around like 5'3", not including the horns jutting out. Her tail peeks out of just an abomination of ruffles that mark her as an aspirant to the Candescent Creed of the House of Halovar. Hi, I'm a demon, and my name is Tyranny.
And when I think of Tyranny, I think of a combination between Fern and Ashton. Just bam, right there, like they had a kid. It's not necessarily what that kid would look like, but Tyranny is very much pop punk. Very much, and I love it. I was a punk kid when I was young, and seeing that represented on screen in 2 campaigns in a row is just great. Love it. Love it. Each one of these characters, by the way, has a flashback as to where they were at the execution of Chazé Fang. Thazé. I'm going to do that a bunch. And we can get into where they were during that execution, and I might do that at the end of this video. there's a little bit of a scuffle and an idea that something went wrong, and they haven't seen Thimble yet. So they go and they look for Thimble. They come across a grisly scene, and we start meeting Laura's character in the middle of death saving throws, which is iconic.
You see a very small, 4-inch tall pixie with short brown hair. She's older than the last time you saw her. You can't tell. She thinks she looks almost 18 at this point. She's in her clothes are a bit tattered now. They're dark green. Her wings, which are normally a bright spring green, are almost muted at this point, and the wing is a little bent, and she's unconscious and askew on the ground. Her two swords, the needles, have scattered away from her grasp.
This will be a real interesting character for Laura to play, because that pixie killed 3 full-sized humans. 3 full-sized humans. That pixie is a stone-cold killer, and I want to see how deep that killing goes. But in an episode where I think I cried 4 or 5 times before this point, Laura Bailey and her ability to act and have a panic attack on camera is really something special. I love watching her play games. After Thimble is saved by Tior, we meet Cadigan Vale, who Robbie is playing very well. And I like the character. I think that character will grow on me in the long term.
You see a human man.
Is he tall?
Coward.
He is so tall. He actually is an imposing figure. He's older. I'd say in his mid-40s or so. But it's tough to tell because he's lived a hard life, a weathered life from the very beginning. You see a man at the waning peak of his physical ability, but he was definitely there and very, very capable. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. He's carved out of the oak that he lives among. Cadigan Vale is, has a cowl and hood over his head, and monochrome. Everything on him feels scavenged, but purposeful. High quality and cared for, but wild and raw. And the things that he wears represents who he is on the inside as well. He is, he's a wild man in a place that he shouldn't be. And as he sort of appears in the doorway in this imposing figure, he stumbles just a little bit. That aura goes away, and as he stumbles, he leans against the door, and you can tell, he's been drinking.
Yeah.
And there's this real cute interaction between Pin, the familiar of Octus, and Wulfric, the well-named wolf of Cadigan Vale.
Pin wanders in the woods sometimes, and sometimes I look through his eyes and I see this dog.
Well, you'd absolutely recognize him because Wulfric, the wolf, not a dog. I'm not good at naming things. Is armored himself, and it mirrors Cadigan's armor. On his side is an empty quiver. He even wears a tattered cowl, and Cadigan's knows what's going to happen next. He's just going to tear this fox to pieces, and instead, Wulfric can help me. Pin circle
pushing.
each other, and Wulfric takes a submissive pose, and Pin just kind of jumps on him and plays. And Cadigan goes, "Oh,
I feel like they talked about that ahead of time, and I think in one of the interviews they said that they talked about that ahead of time. I wonder if we're going to see more interactions between those two because of that. I don't know why I think that. I think that we're going to see more of those two interacting. Um, Next up, we meet Bolaire, and Taliesin has knocked it out of the park in creepy again. If you don't think so, just watch Sam's face while he describes his character.
Is prepared to be a bit of a spectacle, is showing off. He wears a very fine set of clothing. It's not very rich, but it certainly has money and a bit of somewhere between ostentatious taste and trying to blend in, but really not wanting to. He wears black leather and suede, tied over an underlayer of deep red crimson. He is covered head to toe, from gloves all the way up to a high neck. He has very long, curly, dark red hair. And the most notable thing about Bolaire is that he wears a mask. And this mask is a gray clay with dark gray, almost black lips, and very, very large, empty pools of blackness where each eye should be, with a cut to indicate possibly tears that run down the face. Deep within these black pools, you can see tiny blue reflected lights, almost like a cat hiding in a shadow at night. And that's what blinks instead of the mask, deep, deep within. This would be even more disturbing as he approaches the door. The mask itself sighs and moves just like a real face.
Yeah. So I think he described himself as bitchy in one of the reels, one of the shorts that they had. And I just see someone who understands social structure more than most people think he does. That was a terrible sentence. I think Talison's playing a character who is very aware of social circumstance and social circles, and because of that, is thinking about too many things all at the same time about what's happening around him. Like 1 foot in the royal side and 1 foot inside the normal side. I like that he knows Hal's family more than he knows Chaze Fang. And then we meet Sir Julian Davenos.
Yes. You see a human man just about to crest into his 30s. Lanky, compact build, sealed within a reinforced leather military uniform of House Davinos, the vassal house to the Sundered House of Royce. In dark purples and gray with red trim, you see across the right shoulder an intricate silver metal pauldron, and the other shoulder itself hidden within a dark green short cape with intricate designs of vine and flower kind of sewn through it. Himself, a very stern, kind of stoic look as he just kind of stares into the opposite side of the carriage. His long, heavily curly black hair kind of tumbling past his shoulders, his other hand kind of resting on his knee while his sheathed rapier sits on his left hip as he just kind of rides in the carriage.
I feel like we need to have a separate conversation about this character. I don't think that he's a character worth hating. I think that he's showing us a character from a different point of view. Not everyone could have possibly liked Daze Fang. It's not possible. And I think that the way Matt is playing Julian is as a character who has a complicated past and a complicated relationship with the inciting incident character who felt slighted by a lot of people in life and has a chip on his shoulder. There's an interaction between Taisha and Julian, which speaks more about his character and his personality and his history than I think we're going to see for a long time. I'm not sure Julian needs to be hated by the community. I think Julian is going to be a slow burn. Just a character who incrementally gets better and grows on you. Because spitting on a corpse is something tough to hear, like, bro, you spat on a corpse. But riddle me this one. Would you spit on the corpse of someone that you hated? Or would you spit on the corpse of an enemy of your house? That's something that I think Julian struggles with, is knowing the correct way to approach that situation. If you look at his character sheet, he's got like a 10 in wisdom. He's very average in wisdom. He's got a lot of other great stats, but wisdom, his ability to read situations, I think is bordering on bad. And he will be someone who probably learns from his own mistakes and the mistakes around him if he's the type who learns from those mistakes. But anyway, shortly after that, we meet my favorite character. I did not expect. I thought Tior was going to be my favorite character, and he was until Murray Magnuson got on screen.
She's a little disheveled from the rain, which is not, normally her position. In fact, she just kind of does a little bit of wizard magic to get herself all back into her full shining glory. You see a dwarf woman with kind of long auburn hair spilling out from under a flat brim cap, like big, long, big hat. And then you see that she's wearing this like coat. It's like long duster jacket that doesn't have sleeves. Sleeves are bullshit. And it looks like she walked into a rich person's house and saw someone's rug and went, that looks nice, and then made a jacket out of it. And then you see she's not afraid of color. And even though it is a funeral, she has to show off her proudest asset, which is her big old rack. And as she likes to say, lanterns are lit, so are the tits.
Let's go.
So she loves a good party. She loves a good funeral. There's just something about her, even though she's very put together. Oh, and you can see she's got a little bit of a chin strap that is perfectly braided. And her nails are did, they are shining, and then you see on the tip of her index finger, she's got what looks like a press-on, but when you look a little bit closer, it's like the tip of an ink pen. It's like a quill. So yeah, she's here, and she looks very put together, but also there's just something about her that's a little grimy, a little greasy. She kind of starts digging into the cranberry rolls, and she kind of picks out of her teeth, and as you see her kind of picking it out, she's missing the front three, right side of her teeth, and if you look closer, they've been replaced with gemstones. So she's got one that's a little ruby, one that's just like a kind of a clear white quartz, and then another that's like a purple quartz. How she lost those teeth, who knows?
Murray Magnuson is that aunt you have that doesn't have kids but gave you pot when you were 16. Murray Magnuson is that cousin who's older than you by like 15 to 20 years who would totally let you drive her car even though you don't have a permit to learn how to drive. She is the cool aunt. And that is a character I don't think I've seen at the table, and is probably the one that I want to see the most interaction with every other player at that table. Every other single player. I think Murray's going to bring this warm, down-home, Appalachian family feel to it, and that's great. That the character design's awesome. I was surprised at how much I liked Murray Magnuson, because I don't really go into or for what I would consider to be the over-sexualized characters. They're just not my thing. I'm demisexual. I just don't see the world through that very sexualized lens. But I could really get to know Murray as a person because she is so laid back and so level-headed, even in this first episode. I mean, if Taisha is bringing this mama bear energy, Murray is bringing that cool aunt energy, and I love it. Love it. Love it. And finally, we are introduced to Bayless. Oh, you want to talk about an entrance into the game? Sure, Sir Julian was striking, and we anticipated a character that we might want to hate, but Bayless? Ashley describes her as
an extremely tall woman.
5'11".
Yes. Dressed in sort of deep obsidian, snug, black leather chest armor and robes, and pale white lacing that goes all the way up the top to the top of her throat. She pulls down a black hood, and she wears a veil of mourning that looks to be chainmail that's draped over her elven ears.
Cool.
And the part of her face that we can see, you can see that there's gashes and scarring and burns. What almost looks like a scar of arcane magic. Wrapped around her waist a few times is a very, very long chain, and she holds the end of it sort of laced between her fingers, and dangling on the bottom of it is a censer with some smoke coming out of it.
And I want to focus in on that arcane scarring on her head. I think Valus fought in the Shaper War on the side of the gods. I think Ashley wanted to play a character that had a lot of years and saw some things. I wonder if Valus fought against the mortal races because she's super technically not a mortal race. I don't know. I just don't know. And there's so many questions I have. There's so much to go into this. I don't think one video can handle it all. So I'm going to do this short video here, and I'm going to put together another video that is just lore. It's just the information for this world where we can start getting into the sundered houses and where they sit. We can start getting into who the Oberdemian Empire is. We can start getting into some of the notes I have on the Candescent Creed. There was so much in this episode that I could make something that's like 2 hours long, but I don't see the point. So thanks for watching. I got another video coming out real soon, and I'm really looking forward to Thursday.